living.
The time by Kyrie Chris is 6 p.m. Time for CBX Business News. The business news headlines is brought to you by QMax Wealth Management, making more possible. CARICOM resources, trade breakthroughs, and a global tariff showdown on the horizon. Hello, welcome to CBX Business News for Monday, July 7, 2025. I'm Yanil Wood. Thanks for joining us. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Coming up in the newscast locally, CARICOM chairman spotlights the region's rich resources, calls for deeper trade to unlock economic potential. On the regional front, CARICOM states look to acquire cargo aircraft to overcome trade barriers and close supply chain gaps. And over on the global stage, U.S. President Donald Trump sets an August 1 deadline for reciprocal tariffs, plans additional 10% tariff on BRICS allies. Stay tuned as we unlock these stories and more right after this break.
Hi, I'm Nielsen Rose, host of Let's Talk Stocks, reminding you that health is indeed wealth and time is really money. Why not spend a little time with us? Weekday mornings, 9 to 9:30 a.m. for your daily dose of business, economic, and investment insights.
Introducing the Corporate Services Unit, your go-to experts for corporate secretarial solutions. We offer statutory compliance, efficient minute taking, registered office address services, management of board and members meetings, setup and maintenance of corporate registers. Stay ahead with our proactive approach to new regulations. We operate under the Trust and Corporate Service Provider, licensed to the JCSD Trustee Services Limited. We're here to simplify your corporate journey, no matter the size of your company. Contact the Corporate Service Unit today and let's streamline your compliance journey together, because your success is our business.
Vesco started from 5 shareholders who believed that they could execute a fuel company as good as or as better than any multinational. The director shareholders always believed that the dealers within our network should be owners of the company. They believe that staff should be owners of the company. And specifically also believe that the public should become shareholders. That cannot be facilitated by a bank loan. Our experience so far has translated into additional customers. Our transparency has allowed us to access credit easier and at better rates. So if you're a private company thinking about growing your profits, having better access to capital, I really think you should consider listing on the junior or the main market. Go ahead, have that conversation as soon as possible. We did it and we're very happy.
It's feeling so good right now. Feeling so good right now. Yeah, yeah. It's feeling so good right now. Feeling so good right now. Yeah, yeah. It's feeling so good right now. Don't ever, ever, ever wanna calm down. Oh, no, no. Yeah, yeah.
Serious about building Jamaica? Build with solid PVC pipes and conduits, manufactured in Jamaica by Phosphate, made to the highest standard. Solid PVC pipes and conduits are made in Jamaica by Jamaicans for Jamaicans. Available at hardware stores across the island. Take some solid advice, support our economy, and build well. Buy solid PVC pipes. Next time, ask for solid brand PVC pipes and conduits. Call our distributors or Phosphate at 876-937-5099.
Me grew up and see my granny save her money under her mattress.
Exactly. Okay. Your grandmother house never burned down? No, how you reached that, so?
That was a one-off thing.
That could have happened to anybody. That's why you must put your money in a financial institution and protect it.
What if the bank crash?
Well, that's where JDIC comes in.
What you mean?
JDIC is a financial safety net which provides coverage for your money in case your financial institution fails.
Explain that to me.
Alright, because of the JDIC deposit insurance scheme, once you put your money into a financial institution like a bank or building society, you can get coverage of up to a maximum of $1.2 million per deposit of your financial institution if it should fail. And for even more information, you can visit their new website at www.jdic.org, and you can follow the social media platforms for the latest information.
JDIC, protecting deposits for you and me.
The local news is brought to you by Derriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean flavors and fragrances, tease the senses, and Pulse Investments. Welcome back to CBX Business News. We begin with updates from the high-level CARICOM Heads of Government meeting currently underway in Montego Bay, Jamaica. Prime Minister of Jamaica and Chairman of the Caribbean Community CARICOM, Dr. Andrew Holness, has issued a strong call to action for Caribbean leaders to unlock the region's vast economic potential. Speaking at the opening of the 49th Heads of Government meeting in Montego Bay, Holness emphasized the urgent need for change, highlighting that the Caribbean has sufficient resources to meet its own needs if harnessed effectively. His remarks also signal a push toward greater economic integration aimed at boosting growth and sustainability across the region.
The resources in CARICOM are sufficient for us to provide for the needs of our people. Guyana with energy and land, Suriname with energy and land, Trinidad, Jamaica with incredible human resources.
He posed a thought-provoking question to the heads of government and other stakeholders at the event.
What has stopped us for these many years? We have been saying we really want to get it. Did we really want it? I think that the emerging global situation must now push us to really get it, Mayor. We can get it because the time to get the prosperity for our people is now.
Dr. Holness also emphasized the importance of strengthening both internal and external trade relations within CARICOM.
In the new dispensation, which is emerging, it is clear that the world is not unipolar and that there are opportunities that we must explore. There are gains which we have left on the table, unexplored. And as a community, we must strengthen South-South cooperation. We must strengthen our trade cooperation with Africa. And we must strengthen our internal cooperation.
Meanwhile, the CARICOM chair is urging heads of government to collaborate through shared values and common interests to strengthen resilience and mitigate vulnerabilities faced by small island states.
As small states, we are vulnerable, not just to global economic shocks and natural hazards, but to being marginalized in a world where power and influence often outweigh genuine need. And that is why we must think strategically, act collaboratively, and remain focused on the values and interests that unite us.
He insists that CARICOM member states must strengthen their institutions and take full responsibility for shaping their own future.
But I think that as we enter upon the new order which seems to be emerging in the world, that we must be strategic. We must strengthen our institutions. We must take responsibility for our own destiny, because that is the only way we're going to only really get it if we really want it. It means we must focus on people, because human development must be the center of the integration mission. It must be the center of the development mission.
Chairman of CARICOM and Prime Minister of Jamaica, Dr. Andrew Holness. The 49th meeting of the Conference of Heads of Government of CARICOM is being staged under the theme, People, Partnerships, Prosperity, promoting a secure and sustainable future. The three-day event, which commenced on Sunday, is scheduled to conclude on Tuesday, July 8. In other news, the Caribbean Information and Credit Rating Services Limited, CARICRIS, has reaffirmed its credit ratings for the Grace Kennedy GK Group in 2025, as well as upgraded its overall management risk rating to the highest level. CARICRIS affirmed GK's regional ratings, CARI A, for its local and foreign currency debt. It also affirmed its rating of Jamaican AA on its Jamaica local and foreign currency issues. The agency has also noted that the ratings reflect a good level of creditworthiness relative to the competition across the Caribbean, as well as high level of creditworthiness when compared with other companies in Jamaica. And the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP, in partnership with the Statistical Institute of Jamaica Statin and the National Environment and Planning Agency, NEPA, has launched a week-long workshop aimed at accelerating Jamaica's transition to a circular economy. Running from July 7 to 14 at NEPA's headquarters in Kingston, the initiative is specifically designed to equip micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, MSMEs, with the technical know-how to better manage electronic waste and integrate sustainable practices across their operations. Held daily from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., the Circular Economy Workshop will train participants in the use of environmental data for informed policy development and business planning. It also seeks to embed principles of resource efficiency and waste reduction in key business sectors. The agenda is structured around critical sustainability themes, including material flow accounts, which will be held July 7 and 8, helping business understand how raw materials are sourced, used, and discarded, waste management between July 9 and 10, and covering municipal solid waste, hazardous waste, and food waste mitigation strategies, and water stress and air emissions, which will take place July 11 and 14. This will focus on wastewater treatment and air quality management. Now to foreign currency trading news. At the end of currency trading on Monday, the US dollar is selling for $160.84, the Canadian for $119.90, and the British pound for $217.35. The going rate for the euro is $187.99. Up next, trading news from the Jamaica Stock Exchange. 112 stocks traded on the JSE Monday, of which 43 advanced, 52 declined, and 17 traded firm. Leading the winners were Iron Rock Insurance Company, Cygnus Real Estate Financial Jamaican Dollar, Epley Limited, and Salada Foods, while the losers were led by Mayberry Jamaican Equities, Margaritaville Turks US Dollar, Kingston Wharves, and Tropical Battery. Now the main index declined by 4,135.85 points, or 1.32%, to close at 308,855.45. The junior market index also declined, but by 2.19, or 0.06%, to close at 3,439.74. And it's time for our market education feature, brought to you by CARICRIS, Regional Ratings, Global Standard. Now in today's market education feature, we take a closer look at the Generalized System of Preferences, otherwise known as GSP. The Generalized System of Preferences, GSP, is a trade program that offers developing countries preferential access to markets of developed nations by reducing or eliminating tariffs on eligible products. Established in 1971 under the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, UNCTAD, GSP aims to support economic growth and development by encouraging exports from beneficiary countries. However, beneficiaries often face challenges meeting rules or origin requirements, limiting their ability to fully use these benefits. Today, about 15 countries and regions, including the United States, the European Union, EU, Canada, and Japan, extend GSP preferences. The market education feature was brought to you by CARICRIS, Regional Ratings, Global Standards. And that's it for our market education feature and the end of the local segment. Please stay with us. The regional business news is up next. The local news is brought to you by Derriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, tease the senses. And Pulse Investments. Welcome back. We go now to news from across the region. CARICOM member states are moving to enhance transportation links with new cargo aircraft and ferry proposals aimed at improving trade and travel across the Caribbean. Speaking at the opening of the 49th regular meeting of CARICOM heads of government in Montego Bay on Sunday, outgoing CARICOM chair and Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, announced that at least 2 member states are set to acquire dedicated cargo planes to address persistent logistics challenges that hinder the free movement of goods throughout the region.
The bottom line is, however, that there are still too many gaps. And the major issue of logistics, I am happy to report that there are at least 2 CARICOM member states that are now in the process of looking to acquire cargo planes to help us overcome the very difficult prospect of the movement of goods within this region.
Prime Minister Mottley says regional leaders now face a pivotal decision on long-discussed plans to expand maritime transport across the Caribbean.
I anticipate that at this meeting at Montego Bay, we will have the presentation on the inter-island regional ferry from the private sector. And at this point, it is up to us to determine whether we have the political will to finally ensure that we can democratize travel through ships yet again in this region, knowing full well that with the federal maple and the federal palm, there were examples of it many decades ago, and that we have allowed ourselves to become purely at the mercy of air travel without recognizing that as islands in the Caribbean Sea, we have the ability to reach each other in good time and at cheaper fares than if we only use air to connect our region.
Outgoing CARICOM Chair and Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley. We turn now to a major development that could reshape business and migration ties between the Caribbean and the United States. A sweeping new U.S. immigration law signed by President Donald Trump on July 4 is set to drive up the cost of cross-border business, disrupt labor mobility, and burden Caribbean American households that support relatives through the immigration system. The measure, enacted under the One Big Beautiful Bill, introduced a wide range of new and increased immigration fees, costs that are expected to have direct commercial fallout for Caribbean economies closely linked to the United States through trade, travel, and labor flows. The legislation authorizes $170 billion in new federal spending for immigration enforcement. To finance this, the U.S. government is shifting the cost burden to migrants and visa applicants, many from the Caribbean. Effective July 1, a $250 visa integrity fee will apply to all temporary visa categories, including B1 and B2, business or tourist, student exchange, and crew visas. This comes on top of the existing $185 application fee, raising the total upfront cost to nearly $435 per applicant. Meanwhile, work permits commonly used by Caribbean seasonal and temporary workers in the U.S. will now cost $550 per application and must be renewed every 6 months. This represents an annual cost of $1,100, up from less than half that amount under previous regulations. And in a significant development in Trinidad and Tobago's financial sector, former central bank governor Dr. Alvin Hilaire has initiated legal action against the state, alleging wrongful dismissal following the abrupt termination of his appointment last month. In a statement to Guardian Media, Hilaire confirmed that his legal team issued a pre-action protocol letter on Monday to the cabinet, routed through the Attorney General and the Cabinet Secretary. Hilaire's termination was formalized by President Christine Kangaloo on June 24. No official explanation has been given for the decision, though it comes just weeks after Kamla Prasad Bissessa accused him of withholding information about the country's top users of foreign exchange, a politically sensitive issue. The government has since appointed former Finance Minister Larry Hawaii to the post of central bank governor, also effective June 24. This case could have financial implications for the state, while also raising fresh questions about political interference and the independence of the central bank. And still with Trinidad and Tobago, but this time trading news from the TTSE. 20 securities traded on the TTSE Monday, of which 4 advanced, 10 declined, and 6 traded firm. Leading the winners were Trinidad Cement, JMB Group, Scotiabank TNT, and Prestige Holdings, while the losers were led by Unilever Caribbean, the West Indian Tobacco Company, National Enterprises, and Massey Holdings. Other results include the All TNT Index declining by 4.59 to close at 1,499.36, the Composite Index declining by 2.48 to close at 1,024.19, and the Cross-Listed Index also declined, but by 0.03 to close at 72.20, and still remaining at 96.37 is the SME Index. And we go for a short break, but please do stay with us as Nielsen Rose is up next with our international business news segment.
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. In the international news today, U.S. stock futures declined, the dollar strengthened, and gold prices fell after President Trump confirmed that his reciprocal tariffs will take effect on August 1. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent earlier clarified that tariffs would revert to April 2 levels for countries that failed to reach a trade agreement with the U.S. by that date. In a further escalation, President Trump also announced plans to impose an additional 10% tariff on any nation that aligns itself with the anti-American policies of the BRICS bloc, signaling a tougher stance on global trade alliances. In June 2025, China's foreign exchange reserves rose by US $32.2 billion to $3.317 trillion, marking the highest level since December 2015. This increase exceeded market expectations of US $3.313 trillion and followed a May total of $3.285 trillion. The rise was largely attributed to the continued depreciation of the US dollar against major currencies and gains in global asset prices. During the month, the won appreciated by 0.45% against the dollar, while the dollar weakened by 2.7% against a basket of key currencies. Amid ongoing tariff uncertainties, interest rate cut expectations, and geopolitical tensions, the People's Bank of China continued to bolster its gold reserves for the 8th consecutive month. Gold holdings increased slightly from 73.83 million to 73.9 fine troy ounces, with the value rising from 241.99 billion to 242.93. WTI crude futures hovered around $67 per barrel on Monday, experiencing volatility after OPEC Plus announced a larger than expected production increase for August. The group revealed plans to raise output by 548,000 barrels per day, surpassing the previous pace of 411,000 barrels per day set for May through to July. A similar increase is anticipated for September. Despite the production boost, Saudi Arabia raised prices for its flagship crude grade to Asia, indicating that physical markets remain tight. OPEC Plus cited a stable global economic outlook and strong market fundamentals as the basis for its decision. The group will revisit production levels at its meeting in August 3. Meanwhile, markets are closely monitoring U.S. trade policy, with President Trump's country-specific tariffs scheduled to take effect on August 1, adding another layer of uncertainty to the global energy landscape. The head of the world's largest sovereign wealth fund is voicing growing concern over the United States' ballooning debt levels, warning that global investors may soon demand higher returns to continue financing government borrowing. Nikolai Tangen, CEO of Norges Bank Investment Management, which oversees Norway's 2.8 trillion global pension fund, said in a recent interview that the U.S. fiscal trajectory is raising red flags. We do observe that the budget deficit is quite large, Tangen told Yahoo Finance. that's not only the case in the US, but across the world. Tangen's comments come just days after President Trump signed a sweeping fiscal package on July 4, which analysts estimate could add $3.3 trillion to the national debt over the next decade. The US debt load is part of a broader global trend, with total sovereign debt now nearing $100 trillion, according to the IMF. While acknowledging the US dollar's unique status as the world's reserve currency, Tangen cautioned that this advantage may not last forever. Tangen, who has led the fund since 2020 and recently secured a 5-year contract extension, emphasized that while the US remains a core market, the fund is closely monitoring macroeconomic risks, including debt sustainability, inflation, and geopolitical tensions. And those were your international business stories. After the break, join Neil for your recap.
Welcome back, and now to recap our top stories. CARICOM chairman highlights region's rich resources and calls for deeper trade ties. Regionally, CARICOM states look to acquire cargo aircraft to overcome trade barriers. And on the international scene, US President Donald Trump sets an August 1 deadline for reciprocal tariffs. Those were the stories making today's CBX Evening News. On behalf of Nielsen Rose and the entire production team, I'm Neil Wood, thanking you for watching CBX, your region, your business, your source.
You may have fears in listing on the main market or the junior market of the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Whatever those fears are, we can help you to allay them. Give us a call today. Our friendly professional staff will help you through the process. Let us have that conversation. Give us that call.